Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording this I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. And today, we're going to do something different on the Hermitcraft server. We are going to begin work on a railroad line that connects the center spawn hub, spawn city, spawn village here to Hypnotize brand new base, which is a 7.5 minute train ride in the nether, and by extension, it would be about a 54-minute train ride through the overworld. So, I figure it'll take about 25-30 episodes to get this train line connected to Hypnotize base, but then everybody can enjoy the marvels of a 1 hour long train ride all the way out to Beacon City, which I don't know if that's what he's calling it or not. He might be calling it Hypnotized Beacon City, but you know what? That's where we're going. Oh, wait, no, that's a terrible idea. We are not going to build a 56-minute train line. What we'll do instead is, I don't know, it's spooky, it's Halloween. Let's tell a ghost story. So, the ghost story. I should really have lit up my keyboard in here. Of Colonel Void. RAF. Retired. Done. Or wait, no, that's not what I want to do. That was my title. Bye, Joe Hills. You can find me on the YouTube and like me on the Twitters. So, much like the other stories that I've told here, this is not a story I've already written. If I'd already written it, I'd be telling it to you right now. I wouldn't be typing, tipping, and tapping at the little keyboard here. But this is a story that we're going to tell together. You know, I'm going to bounce ideas off of you, the viewer, and then by the time you comment, it'll be too late for it to impact the actual final result. So, here we go. I know that I want to tell a story about Isuma's great uncle, Colonel Void, RAF retired. For those of you who don't know, the RAF is the Royal Air Force. The R does not stand for retired. That's what the RET stands for. That's separate. If you call them the Retired Air Force, they will be offended. Don't do that. Okay, so it's Halloween. We want to tell a ghost story. So one thing, we want to look at is we have one established character, which is Colonel Void, and we have one character in mind. We need to establish him. We need to say something about him. So, you know what? But that's weak if we just start by saying Colonel Void was an upright guy who did a great job in the Air Force. No, what we need to do is establish who he is through how he interacts with his setting. So, what we'll say is, let's see, the streets, of Occupy, it goes to a new line! It didn't used to do that. I was going to have to backspace and press enter. Dinnerbone, you are truly a savior. Thank you. The streets of occupied Palestine. Wow. Home keys. I'm sorry, I'm in a little booth where I can't even move my elbows. I'm in a closet that's as wide as my shoulders, and it is hard to type. Yay, sound recording. The streets of occupied Palestine were not crowded by the time the clubs closed. But as colonial, no, it's Colonel. But as Colonel Void walked is a bad verb, don't use it. But as Colonel Void gentlemanly ambled, which is a polite way of saying he wasn't so drunk that he had to stagger, gentlemanly ambled back toward the officer barracks. Wait, so now I have to hit a new line? Oh, because it's a new page. Dang it. Dinnerbone, fix your game. Barracks. He heard a group of children whispering. Because here's the thing. Children laughing in horror is no longer scary. kids laugh and it's like, ha 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 ha. That's not frightening anymore. The kids should be doing something else. So, now it's raining because the children were whispering. See? If we had the children laughing, it would be like, I don't know, sunning out, because it was so not funny in a scary way. Or so not scary in a funny way, depending on how you like to arrange your sentences. So, sentence structure. We continue. So, he heard a group of children whispering in a language that he thought might be Czech. I'm not sure if Czech is an actual language, but you know what? We don't know how much Lieutenant Colonel, or no, Colonel, I bumped him up. We don't know how much Colonel Void, retired RAF, knows about, you know, Eastern European languages. So, fine. He might think that even if Czech doesn't exist. If Czech doesn't exist, don't leave a comment saying that it doesn't exist and Joe is dumb. Say like, oh, that says something about the character. Yeah, that's right. This is how writing happens, guys. We are just throwing stuff down on the page. When he turned, he saw... See, you could say, when he turned, there was no one there. But when he turned, he saw only the other officers, let's see, fanning away from the club toward the flats of the local girls. No, see, that's not good enough, because we need to convey that the local girls are dragging the officers away. We saw the other officers, you saw only the other officers being dragged away from the club by local girls headed toward their flats. Void, being a gentleman with a... See, I don't want to say a honey back home because he's British. So there should be a British word for that. With a... I don't know, is sweetheart appropriately UK-sized? Is it enough of a kingdom of unison? Yes, a kingdom of unison. That's exactly how we describe the United Kingdom in the transitive sense. We'll say sweetheart. No, that's bad. Sweetheart is a bad word. This is the thing about writing, guys. You gotta constantly be critical of your word choice. Being a gentleman with a young lady in his heart in Upper Cork, which is the name of a place in England, and not literally a physiological... Oh, what do you call that? A physiological designation for a cardiac feature. Because it's important to have just things separated by commas that make it clear to the reader what's going on. This is maybe a little out of hand, but you know what? You know what's unacceptable? Is not trying. So let's continue to endeavor. I've gone from writing fan fiction about Biffa and Issima fighting bronies or whatever that was about, to like telling ghost stories about Issima's non-existent uncle who was in the Royal Air Force in Palestine. So let's just assume that this is not a charade, because if this is a charade, then I should not be talking, and I should be gesturing madly, which I can't do because I'm in a closet that is as wide as my shoulders. So, we continue. So, he didn't see the group of children whispering. Unaware that the voices of the children would follow him home, he continued to the barracks. Barracks. Surprised that this is going so well. The voices of the children seemed to be following him home. Okay, in terms of structure here, I'd like to point out that I was originally going to try and make this genuinely scary, but the problem, when you want to write good horror, you really have to know the whole story before you start writing it. You can't just make up a horror story, you know? You can make up a story and use elements of horror in it, and essentially what I'm doing now is improvisational comedy. If you're watching this in an educational setting, first, what is wrong with your instructor? And second, thanks. I guess that means that I somehow redeem myself in the latter portion of this whatever I'm making. YouTube video. Which may later be featured on Laserdisc or whatever you guys use in the future. Who knows? Maybe the wee baby... I shouldn't say the name of my yet-to-be-born baby. But maybe she's watching this. I don't know. If you're watching this in the future... I should tell you to dig somewhere. That'd be funny. Oh, I won't. Okay. Let's focus here. Unaware that the voices of the children will follow him home, he continued to the barracks. Surprised that the voices of the children seemed to be following him home. Let's see. Before... It seemed as soon as his head hit his pillow that he was being roused from bed for a surprise. You know what? No. There are no surprise missions in Palestine. Sometimes when you start on a project, the best thing that you can do is to say, yeah, some of that was maybe okay. But sometimes it's not salvageable. Like, this is not even a ghost story yet. And I'm already having trouble because I said it someplace that the Royal Air Force never needs to fly. Because they've already beaten Hitler. Like, I guess he could be roused in the morning for a emergency patrol. Still groggy, but never admitting a hangover. Okay, also, if he's a colonel, he shouldn't be flying at this point. I have literally painted myself into a corner here. A hangover. I also spelled that funny. So, there's some merit to this. This is a purely educational exercise. If someone ever asks you, is this art? And they point at whatever I made here, you can go, no. This is a very bizarre combination of a fella talking without enough intent toward actualization of creative energies into a product to consist of art. This is a failure of art. Art might have tried to be something, but there's no trying here. And as Yoda pointed out, when you don't try, you're gonna, I don't know, fall into a bog and need to be pulled out by a guy using magic force powers. I'm looking at you, X-Wing. Seriously? You are a plane that can't land without being destroyed by a swamp, or at least swallowed by one. Worthless planesmanship. I don't know who taught you to plane, but you're terrible. Okay. We are just going to delete a lot of this. It seemed as soon as his head hit his pillow that he was awoken by... Let's just throw some ghosts in here. We have nothing to lose. This is already just not good. You guys can click the dislike button on this video. It's okay. Don't complain about it in the comments if other people dislike this. This is an example of how creative people sometimes fail. And I'm trying to do my best to explain to you why. And I hope that has some value. See my previous statements about your instructors making you watch this in class. If you're watching this in class, you have the coolest instructor, but seriously, what are they thinking? Okay. Okay. Let's recenter here. Seemed as soon as his head hit. Let's change it up, okay? Sometimes what helps is to just switch your focus. You want to come at this from a different angle. An angle that's less rainy. Wow, how convenient. Okay. It seemed as soon as his head hit his pillow that he was awoken by a... See, we got rid of the there, and we replaced it with an A. He was awoken by a tugging at his pajama, or it might be pajama in the British dialect of English. See that what we did? We came at that Gordian style. Boom, Alexander, slice. Now we have something going on here. We got a tugging at his pajama bottom. Ankle. Wow, didn't mean to new line. Need a better typing situation. I'm great at playing games in this little tiny booth. A tugging at his pajama bottom's ankle. Trained as a military man. No, that's dumb. Stop it. Erase that. He bolted upright. Upright. He bolted upright. Or upright. He bolted upright. Knife in hand. And quickly drew it to the throats. No. It's really hard to draw one knife to the throat of many ghosts. When you're writing, you want to keep, like, one thing that helps people is if you create an outline and you have, like, information about the character, like the number of appendages they have, and then you write down what goes in each of their appendages, like in their hands or whatever. So you might say, okay, this guy has one knife. Well, okay, so then you got to think about the physical limitations of a knife. Okay, a knife consists of matter, and as such, it's relatively limited. It can generally be only in one location at a time. So, one knife can be held to one throat at a time. Okay? One throat. He bolted upright, knife in hand, and quickly drew it to the throat of a child he could not... What, am I out of room on this page? Dang it, really? Dinnerbone, fix your game. Sense and danger. But blind to the threat. He didn't look about the room. He didn't glance about the room. You just woke up. You're holding a knife to someone's throat you can't see. You don't know they're there. This is going to freak you out. And because you can't prove that someone's there, but you feel it. Why is there a pig man there? This game is insane. Fix your game, Mark. Let's all start blaming Mark IRL for this stuff, because Dinnerbone gets too much nonsense. Sense and danger, but blind to the threat. He glanced about the room. No, terrible. No, unacceptable. Sensing danger, but blind to the threat. He feared that his drink had been tampered with. He feared that his drink had been tampered with. Or perhaps his food. He sheathed his knife and stumbled over an unseen child as he groped for the light. Casting the door open, he fell into the hallway. No. No. You can do better. See, that's a self-affirmation. That's important as a writer. Writers are crazy people. You talk to yourself, but you always want to tell yourself that you can do better. Because if you don't believe that, then you should just give up right now. Okay? Stop writing if you're not going to tell yourself you could do better. It's fine to believe you're a failure, but believing you always will be one is unacceptable. Fix that now. He knocked over his unlit lamp, but managed to push new page. Open his door. Collapsing into the hallway. He felt tiny hands grabbing at him, scooping into him, into the places he knew held the bits and shards and pieces of flak he'd collected flying. No, you don't need to say flying. We've established he's in the Air Force. Do better. He'd collected between his tendons. No. Between his flesh and bone also. Horrible. Beneath his skin. Ugh. Also bad. He collected in... You know what? Let's just say in his leg. It's not super poetic, but it works. Yeah. Felt tiny hands grabbing at him, scooping into him, into the places he knew held the bits and shards and pieces of flak he'd collected in his leg. Over the 200 flats he'd logged. No, terrible. Round number, logged. He'd collected in his leg in his days in the sky. There we go. I like that, and it might not be the best wording, but what's important is that I like it. And Other people might not, but we've already established that this is a failure. This is a purely academic exercise at this point. It's irredeemable. So, there. Hot and sharp and pain and agony you never want to put together. Hot and sharp and pain and fear. That's okay. Hot and sharp and pain and distraction. So much distraction from the mission, from the missions. Parallel form, good. Not necessarily good. Once again, failure. Assaulted, once again, very cliche, assaulted his focus. Attacked his focus. If I was really writing this, I'd be using a thesaurus now, and I'd be like jotting down notes and drawing things and all sorts of stuff. But I don't have that luxury because I'm doing this in front of you guys. So much distraction from the mission, from the missions. Collapsed against his... See, he collapsed, now it's collapsed against his consciousness. No, fell, waved. What's a good word for waved? You know, you've got this kind of oceanic, lapped. Lapped against his self, lapped against his waking. See, succumbed and gave in are both also heavily used in this sort of story. And I don't like either, especially. Lapped against his waking. And he screamed without screaming. That's another thing that people do too much. Twisted. And he twisted and huddled and slammed himself against the door of his neighbor, trying to wake himself. The next morning, wow. This is why in real life you also edit after you type. The next morning, he was found. No. Lame. Terrible. Stop it. Do better. The backspace key, most important key. Seriously. It's there for you. Use it. See, I could go back to doing something like, we started establishing darkness, and now we established light, or whatever. But we could just jump to something like, found dead the next morning, or... Whoa, I don't want to turn on filter keys. No, holding shift for a while does not mean I want to do something. Thank you, Windows. Also, don't hold shift while you think. Because apparently I thought I turned that off and you can't, or something. Who knows? Maybe I'm just a failure. Oh, wait, we established that. Okay. Blood and metal mixed on the top. Blood and metal mixed on the fine carpet of the hotel they'd commandeered. And Void was found the next morning, free of the shrapnel that had pained him since the war. Free. Comma. Comma's better than period here. Free of the thoughts and dreams and fears that had haunted him as well. Shuddering, stuttering, rocking, rambling. It was years until he spoke again. But never of anything between the day he put on his first uniform and the day they wheeled him out from the hospital. The metal was gone. The shrapnel, bloodied and discarded, and who can say of the memories, as he never did himself. Sign and close. This has been one of the more bizarre experiences I've had recording on the Hermitcraft server. Maybe I shouldn't unfilter my brain so often. If you're still watching this, seriously, click the like button, click the dislike button. I'm happy either way. If you have an extra moment or two, I would doubly appreciate it if you could explain why you liked or disliked this video. I'm not sure that I liked or disliked this video, but I'm going to put this book with the others where anyone else can read them, and maybe I'll hear something back from the rest of the server. Maybe they'll never talk to me again. I don't know what I deserve here. Tell me. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.